I can push that button too, but here we go. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to MVP Office Hours, April 5th. Thanks for keeping us on track. um, I'm so excited to be here. I've missed you guys the last couple of weeks. Geez, where do we start? So welcome. We did that. We meet on the first and third Friday of each month. We have my friends Dale, say hi, and Squire say hi, or anyway, whatever you want to do. And you can find us on LinkedIn. And you can also find MVP Office Hours on the social thing X, formerly known as Twitter. And we do have an email address that we prefer you don't use. We prefer that you post into the success community. And if Dale or Squire, one of you could post a success community link, that would be super duper. That way we can all help you together instead of you just sending an email that Joy, Dale, and Squire is going to get. So there's that. Oh, there's the link. Fantastic. All right, Squire, let's go to the next slide.
You got it.
Look at all these people coming in. I love it. Our next call is April 19th. It's also a Friday. And then the format of our session here is an open Q&A. We do have the bit.ly on the left of the screen. It's just bit.ly MVPOH. Our recordings are on the community and on YouTube. Lots of recordings, all of them except for the first one. Dale, do you know how many recordings we're up to now?
263.
263 recordings.
Like
we're missing the first one, so that's exciting. It's exciting stuff. And then if you're going to post about what's going on here today, we love that, but use some of our favorite hashtags: problem solve together, community learner, MVPOH. Everybody, we want all of your input, all of your experiences, all of your insights, recommendations. Share this with a group. If you have any links or resources or answers, you can just pop those in the chat. If you have questions, post in the chat and or raise your hand with the little clicky reactions at the bottom. And then we'll go through all the questions as we get to them. Now, this is really important. You should feel free to share your screen. If you are not going to share any private data information, because please remember, we are recording the session and we don't want anyone's information to be shared that shouldn't be shared. And we also want to have fun and be informal, but we also ask that we keep it professional and positive. So for those of you that cannot be recorded, say bye now and catch the recording later, and all that good stuff. But all right.
I just thought of a new line real quickly.
Which one?
Sharing is caring, but care about your sharing.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We'll get that in there. Someone write that down. All right. So next slide. You were right. You're totally right there. Oh, look, yay. So upcoming Dream In events. April 9th, We Dream In Dallas, Texas. I'll be there talking about some stuff. And then April 26th, Dream LA is happening in Spain. I will not be there. Is anyone else going to be there? And then Albanian Dream In, April 27th, and then Mid-Atlantic Dream In, May 6th. I do have colleagues presenting at Mid-Atlantic Dream In, which we're very excited about. And then the Salesforce events, World Tour DC on April 10th, World Tour Amsterdam on the 18th, and then World Tour New York, April 25th. So if you're going to be there, make sure you look for the other folks in the Ohana and say hi to people and be friendly and all that good stuff. Sarah's presenting with Michelle Hansen at Mid-Atlantic. Exciting. Barb will be at Texas Dream In too. Super exciting. We also ask that you join our Trailblazer group or any Trailblazer group for that matter, and meet more people. All right, I think that's it, right?
And really quick, several people brought up upcoming events and that speaker submissions are open for things for like London Dreaming, Midwest Dreaming. What was another one that was on my London
Witness.
No, Buckeye Dreaming.
Buckeye Dreaming.
Yep, there you go. So make sure if you're interested in presenting there or you're local, especially because it's easier for you to do that, check out the site, submit your stuff. Community is welcome to do that. So.
Absolutely. Buckeye Dreamin'. Hold on, I have that in my other screen here, but you guys your cute little videos blocking me. Buckeye Dreamin' is July 24th. Submissions closed 3/31, I think.
Oh,
so that we missed the submissions on that one. But Florida Dreamin' submissions are open through July 15th. Yay. And I think Denver Mile High Dreamin' that's in August might be open. I don't know though. I don't have that link in front of me. Anyway, we'll get you all that
While you're
information.
looking, Joy, did you figure out what
No,
we
I didn't.
WE stands for?
No, I didn't.
It's not Wisconsin Ergonomics, right?
No, it's not. It's not that.
Okay.
And I had some, cheeky answers, but they're all wrong. Okay, so next slide. Oh, so are we really a blank slate this morning,
So
this afternoon?
I think so. So just a quick comment or side comment. So one of our very passionate community members kind of filled up the queue with lots of multi-tags, and so it's possible I missed one. But there were like,
You didn't.
Uh-uh.
I'm scrolling back through, and it's
all right,
it's all him, with the exception of Danielle Karendian from Salesforce, who Salesforce has full permission to do what they need to do in
Yeah.
a group like ours.
So-
So yeah, we got Matt from
All right.
from here locally
All right.
in KC.
Matt, are you ready? You have questions for us?
That was quick. I wasn't expecting this to be up that fast. I had I had a question, and I don't know if it's easier to share my screen or not, but you know
Up
how
to
you
if
can make
it helps,
a
do it.
okay, I'll share my screen just in
Okay.
case. So I got to get to the right page. So that means something.
Oh, and I need to stop 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So this is a report that's embedded on a record page. And it doesn't matter what the report is, it's not important. But it's a report that is filtered to the record. You can filter it down so the report is running off of the actual record itself. And I thought that there's a way that instead of having it actually be a chart, there was a way to make it a link. And I was going to see if anyone knew how to make it like a hyperlink, like a field instead of like an actual chart report.
Meaning like a way to get to the report quickly, or do you want to display data?
Meaning to get to the report quickly. Yeah. So right now they click on this, which works totally fine. It takes them to the report. It's filtered down to this opportunity. So it works as advertised. It just kind of looks ridiculous having 4 charts on here instead of 4 URL report links.
I mean, it sounds like you're looking for what was in Classic, where you could have the section, the page section of links that then they didn't bring into Lightning, right? And
Yeah.
I don't mean that like it sounds like
I don't know.
that's what you're going for, though, right?
You
Yes,
can
that's
still do it
the
in Lightning.
functionality. Yeah, for sure.
You can still do it in Lightning, but I think it'll load it in a new tab.
That's
It-
okay. That's
And
totally fine.
in Sandbox, I can't remember. There's some other limitation that I think it's funny in Sandboxes because I think you have to embed the URL. You can make a URL field that redirects to the right report with the ID of your record in the filter, similarly to what you do with the report chart. Let me go looking.
But I
I
think
just
what
put
you're
the link
looking
in
for,
chat. You just need to make a text formula field and put the report in it, like with
so
the
not,
hyperlink.
but not just because how are you going to surface the field that is it an
Dynamic.
action? Is it a
Dynamic forms.
It's just a field. You could put it anywhere on. You can put a field on a page.
But he's
I
not on a
offer-
page though. You have your details tab, which is presumably where you put your page. It's on a different tab, equipment export.
Dynamic forms.
Okay.
So is this what the formula needs to generate? So it needs to have like this as the report, and then like have this be the opportunity ID, if that's what the filter is.
Kind of, as Andrew said, he's put a link in and it's gonna give you a much more easily read URL, but what you're doing is passing report ID to a URL redirect. But I
Okay.
do want to offer something. So this works, except that now you have the need to deploy multiple fields for every report that you start to add to this layout. Like it works great for 1 or 2, but when you've got 10, then you have to create 10 fields and manage those. Another option, not saying it's a great option, but we've done it where we've used a rich text box on the page that has embedded URLs that are labels. So you can just have a single field that takes you wherever you need it to go. Now you're only managing one object or one field that continues to have your like links added. You can name them however you want. You can do things like call the URL, hey, dumb salesperson, this is the link you were asking for. You know, it doesn't have to be like a field name. So not that you would ever do that. Recording's off. But right, so like there's all these are options, I think, is what I was getting at though, because you can have it be dynamic, like what Andrew posted. So
You might also consider trying a different chart type, like maybe just a number chart. So you could maybe stack 4 of them in a row, so it's a single row, and easier ability to get to the view report that's built in, and just click that way.
Sure. It is someone who knows how to like do the formula version. Is there like an example, either on like a help article or one that you've done, just as a starting point? The concept makes sense. I just,
yep.
If someone knows how to do it.
So
I was just pulling up a client org, and in that org, it is done as a button. A detail page button.
yep,
Detail
that
page
works too.
link, rather. It works in Lightning. You have to hard code the report ID, which means, of course, in a sandbox, it does not work. But then you can place it on a field.
Awesome.
And you can get a little bit tricky too, because like what you might actually be doing is you might have a report that's expecting an ID. And so then you're actually passing it as a parameter, which is like midway down in the article that Andrew linked. It's talking about using FV0, and then you have a filter on the report that is actually blank, but when you call it, it passes that ID in, and then there's a bracketed, I think it's like bang record ID, I think, as part of the parameters of the URL, so it knows what to pass along. I'm pretty sure it's all in here. Andrew, have you used this recently? Can you speak to it?
I mean, I've used it like not in the last like 2 months, but for the most part, I've done it where it's just a filter value coming off it. But like, I wouldn't put it as buttons in the top if you're gonna have 4 of them, because it starts to like clutter, especially on an opportunity. You're gonna like it. Yeah, it's a lot. I would recommend like put a text field, put a couple links, something like that, like a rich text field with them, whatever you want to do. But I wouldn't. Buttons are good for like one-off things, but especially on opportunity, just be careful of the overload of buttons.
And do you remember what the URL hack vernacular is? Is it bracket bang record ID? Is that how you pass the current record to that URL hack? That's how it used to be. I don't know if it still is.
No, I just have copied. Normally when I do it, I just have copy and paste it, or I've used ChatGPT and then just made it work.
Cheater.
Just gonna be honest.
Matt, can I take a step back and ask why?
Oh, Dale. Oh, Dale.
I'm very, very, very surprised to hear that question.
I'm surprised it took so long.
It's because they have to export a list to Excel to use in another system that cannot be connected. It's like basically it's a way that our procurement team sends pricing to the vendors, and there's like 5,000 vendors and they all have their own system, so they have to like get it in Excel, get it into whatever of the 5,000 potential partners, put it in their format, and then put it into their system once they have it in their format. So they just need to be able to
tools
get it.
like. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
They just need to be able to easily get the list of equipment for that opportunity. Equipment's a child record. They need to be able to quickly get the children record in an Excel export that they can manipulate however they want.
are you using any tools like Conga or Drawloop or anything that can generate documents in the same fashion?
Yeah, but I mean, they cost money. So this is a free thing.
Nothing
why
is free,
Excel?
I would argue, but
I mean,
I
I did meet with Conga and like a handful of other people, and you know, you have to pay for them. So
right. You know what I think about, I was lamenting over here, that as a consultant, we don't recommend these kinds of approaches normally because they can add up. The debt adds up, and then, you know, thinking bigger picture, how long did Aloha last? 9, 10, 15 years? How old is Lightning? Now almost 9 years old. At some
Bless
point,
you.
we're looking at a platform revolution that is going to kill these kinds of workarounds. Think about how many button hacks died with Lightning in 2015.
So
Just thinking bigger
yeah.
picture, what is something more scalable that I know Conga costs more than 0, but is it an investment, not a cost? Food for thought.
I have a question. Can you use like a CSV instead of Excel? It's effectively the same thing, ish.
yeah, I mean, there isn't, just like for what it's worth, there isn't any complaints about it the way it currently is working, other than just like that it takes up kind of space on the page. Like
What if you
it's
just
like
have a
it's
flow?
working properly. It's a chart instead of a link. So it's really just like kind of a cosmetic thing. It's functioning like they're able to do their job the way it is currently set. So
Why do they have to go
What
to
if
Excel
you-
at all?
what's that?
Why do they have to go to Excel with that list at all? What are they doing with it?
They're uploading it into a like partner system that is different for every partner. So like we get pricing from vendors. The vendors have their portal. They need to receive the information in whatever format they want, and they all have chosen different formats. So like they're all
Sure.
in different formats. So I just need to be able to give them a way to quickly get the list of child records in an Excel that they can manipulate.
Yeah.
Which they are. They're getting it. It just is a chart on a page.
I'm just curious, how big's your org? How many users and what edition are you on?
200 users. Well, I appreciate all the feedback and the help with the link and everything.
Matt, one last really question that I'm gonna make some eyes roll here, but it's not actually really hard to write a Visual Force report that renders as CSV or PDF or whatever from a standard Apex controller. If this is just a give me the child records to this thing, it might be like, I think a web component would be better, but I'm not as savvy as in the web component space, but that's not overly difficult. It's a nice actually entry point if you're going to start writing code.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. I kind of think like just having the link as a formula field is really
I'm with
good
you.
Like it's,
in this
it's
situation, but I do appreciate it.
it's the quick and easy way to do it. I hate the fact that you'd have to, from a user experience, user interface point of view, you're moving people off of the opportunity. I just did a quick search of AppExchange to see are there solutions to this that already exist that I wouldn't have to build, and there's things like a list view exporter. That's cheap. I think it's like $10 on AppExchange. That may solve the same problem. Like you would just if I could just show a list view of what are the records that I need to export, just show it in a list. I don't even have to send them out to report. I just show it on the screen, and then there'd be a button there that says export this list to Excel. So there's probably another dozen ways to solve this problem without having to leave the opportunity page.
That was
Forget what I
put it in
said.
an
I'm with
official
Stu.
SF. I put an unofficial SF one there that exports to CSV. That's why I asked if a CSV works. You can just throw a button on the page, put a record table, let them select records, and it exports records to a CSV. And then they're on the page. They can just close the modal once it downloads. Like, that's honestly probably the cleanest thing that you'll get, and it's free.
Like that too.
And it doesn't require code.
Well, it doesn't require code that we had to write.
Exactly. But as Parker Harris said, he'd prefer that we don't write code. So
But this is all code, right? Isn't underneath the covers? It's yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, it's
he'd
not
prefer that
it's
we
not
don't
only-
write code. Someone
We.
else can.
Okay, fair
The AI
enough. Fair enough.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, Matt, how do you feel? Prepared to take on the next week with this or what?
Yeah, I appreciate it. These lots of great ideas.
All right, we'll
Appreciate
get you started in the right direction. Stu, you had your hand up for a while. I don't know if that was for answers or questions or general commentary, or if you had
No,
something to share.
I was waiting my turn to ask the question that Dale snubbed in and asked in my stead. So that pays me for waiting in
Why?
turn.
Why?
Yeah. I wanted to figure out the reason why you would send them off the page, but that answered the question, so that's fine.
All right, good deal. Good deal. There was another question in the chat about where did it go? Kathy had a question. Was there someone before Kathy before we jump off on that? No, that was it. So Kathy, you had a question about
Okay, yeah. Well, I was asking about DKIM. I know it's something to do with emails, and I read the help stuff and I end up looking like I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. Issue is that one of my customers, when they're sending emails using an email template to some of their clients, the emails are bouncing, but it's not every email. So, at first somebody goes, "Oh, it's an email template." I'm going, "Yeah, no, that's not happening." But it is happening with primarily those who have an iCloud.com email. And I get this, I looked in the email log and got a message, and it's saying it's something on Apple's side. But I had asked in another thing about setting up, if it could be anything we could do on the Salesforce side to perhaps mitigate this issue. And somebody came back with DKIM, this whole DKIM SPF stuff, and I tried to set up the DKIM key, and I sort of ran into something else, and I'm going, but I thought this was the domain I'm using, and so I'm back to being confused.
So
Just need some clarifications or somebody showing me what I need to be doing.
So I think if I'm reading Stuart's his post here, think of yourself as a normal consumer right now for 2 seconds, not as the sender of these emails through Salesforce or through whatever marketing tool. But like for me, my Gmail, legitimate stuff will occasionally go to my spam folder.
Yeah.
Why? Because probably whatever marketing template was used had just a smidge too much extra flavor on it that Google said, nope, this is spam worthy, which may send a bounce back. And maybe that's what iCloud is doing, is iCloud servers are saying, now this is very marketing heavy. And the reason it would be marketing heavy is if you're sending directly from Salesforce, you're not sending from you, you're sending from Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
So one potential option is, I don't know how, I'd have to lean on the community, but you can set up your outbound emails to be legitimately from your company's server. It will have passed all the checks. It will be like you're sending it from your Outlook or from your Gmail if you're a Google Suite company, versus through Salesforce that just says from Kathy@company.com. That's a big piece of the algorithm on the receiving side of the email is not only what does it look like the person who sent it is, but where did it come from? And the where did it come from raises a bigger red flag than the what's the name of the person who sent it. So it's
Okay.
one thing to potentially look into.
And as you, and when you said about legitimate emails going to spam, that would maybe?
Like a
I'm not
legitimate
sure.
marketing email, I
Yeah,
should
yeah,
say.
sorry, I'm just trying to finish my thought. Because like I said, I did print out the email log and it showed that one that was showing on the Salesforce record is bounced. In the email log shows as being, can't remember with it's the R or the D is the one that looks like it's opened. So it could be that if they found it in spam, they may have opened it and that's why it looks legit, even though it still looks like it bounced on the record. Does
What you
that,
should do,
does that make
I threw a
sense?
link. I put a link in there that's dkmvalidator.com. You go to the website, it'll give you an email. Go in the org, send an email to that from the org to that email address, and then it will show you all the headers and what's failing in it. So like you could have SPF failing, you could have DKM failing. There can be like a number of random things, and that's effectively like it's the quickest way to just see what's failing so you know what to actually go look at. Because
Okay.
it's just different on each one. That'll be like the technical things of like what you need to go configure if it's failing. You can't stop like if some email client decides that if Apple decides whatever the IP address is mostly spam, you can't stop that. That good luck. That's a separate Salesforce problem. But like at least the technical configuration stuff, you need to figure out what's not working first. And then whoever runs their domain, that's with the DNS records, that's who needs to help with the DKIM stuff. It's kind of a pain in the butt, to be honest, setting it up.
Okay.
Like
I see a
whoever
message from
GoDaddy
Emma in
and
the
that
chat.
stuff.
And I think she's very spot on. You can set up the key that you want for DKIM inside of Salesforce, and you've got to have the IT added to the mail server side. And it's basically just a, hey, I'm going to send this email, and your recipient organization's email server looks at those headers to say, is this legitimately signed, or is this junk or spam or something that should be quarantined? So you do a piece inside of Salesforce, and then you've got to go to the IT side, and I think it's on DNS. You have to set up your SPF and DKIM records.
Yeah. Oh, is it called DKIM? Okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's called whatever you want to call it, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. I'll try this validator that Andrew sent and see, because yeah, I'm not sure if we have access to those people on the IT side, which might get interesting. So, but thank you. At least I understand it a little bit better. So thank you for the info, everybody. And Emma for asking the question, because that would have been my next question.
Yeah, I love Emma's question because at our org, enterprise size financial services company, we want to open up, allow advisors to send emails directly to their clients, and that number is going to get way over the 5,000 per 24-hour limit that Salesforce offers. So we hooked up using some microservices, hooked it up so that we can forward email through our Outlook Exchange server. But even that, then those folks. So it's what I'm saying is it's different for every company is going to have it different. Because our Exchange server administrator came and said, "Wait a second, you want to send how many tens of thousands of emails through our Outlook server in a 24-hour period? We need to have a talk about that." Because there are bottlenecks. Like even if you try and eliminate every single bottleneck, there's going to be a bottleneck somewhere. And so having those conversations about how much email, when are you sending it? Is it have to be immediate? Is it batched? Is it, a lot of questions have to occur, and then doing it in a way so that you're not setting your site up to be a spam blocked site from the rest of the world. It's all It's all interesting little web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember right too, there's also a slight nuance if you're using email relay too, where you might even have a second hop that first DKIM is passing, but then it goes through your relay and could have a different challenge. So it can get really complex really fast.
I was also going to add, Kathy, I did some research into this years ago without all of this technical side, because there was nobody at the client end, small client, who was technical enough to understand any of this, and found that just making sure that things like postal address was in the footer of the email, because what they're often trying to do is make sure that their email isn't rubbish. So we'd done some test emails and they were a really poor email template, so they went to spam. So the client got really funny about, well, if they're all going to go to spam, none of this is going to work. So I did a quick bit of like, hold on a minute, what makes a good email? And it was like, make sure and it was funny that as soon as I added their full like postal address and stuff in the footer and made the footer all nice, the email then went through that had previously been failing.
Interesting that you should bring that up, because I think when we brought the email templates over from Sandbox, the footers, the letterhead got missed, so the footers were blank. So I wonder if I should go and check the timing. And
that could be part of the reason, yeah, because it could be that immediately the email recipients, I don't know, servers or whatever, are just saying, well, that's rubbish because the header and footer are corrupt or whatever. They're just wrong.
They just look, because they were individually sent emails, just sent off a record one by one. So I know it's not mass. It wasn't a mass email thing. So I'll check that timing on that footer, because that sounds interesting. And I have since updated those. So hopefully future ones should be okay. But like I said, I'll check all these other things too.
Yeah, I would suggest not discarding setting up the DKIM or SPF records, because you're going to run into something with everything. All the mail servers are getting really particular about what they let in.
Yeah.
So it's
no true. I just would, good to at least have somewhere to start from, and then figure out who their IT, if they have an IT person. Something to find out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everybody. That's great.
Nothing else popped up in the queue, I don't think, but was there 2 hands up a second ago?
I think we're okay. I don't know if we have any other questions, but I will say that Taco is desperate to say hello, and he's very upset about the lawn care happening across the street from our backyard. But sorry. He's quiet for now. Do we have any other exciting, fun questions? Andrew Russo, if your question is inappropriate, I'm going to kick you out.
No, it's not. I
right.
asked it in the success community and I got some people's thoughts on it.
Okay.
But I'd be open if anyone here has some strong opinionated thoughts. So situation, we sell capital equipment machines. We create assets for those when they ship. The asset has some stuff like there's a lookup to the opportunity it was from. In the name, we put the account name, who bought it, the product, and then like the serial number, like at the end of like the asset name. And it lives there. We make cases against it and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes our customers will sell the machine to someone else who effectively becomes then our customer, because we have to support them still. As well as sometimes they will sell it back to us and then we will sell it to someone else. We might not even like touch it. So sometimes we don't find out till the new owner calls and is like, hey, we need help. And we're like, you didn't buy it from us. You need to pay us. But separate thing. What's the best practice? Thoughts on like the options we have right now is 1, rename the asset and leave it as is, change the account, but rename it to say like it was resold so it matches the new people who have it. Pro to that is we keep all the case history on it. Downside is that now the cases are kind of messed up because the asset account doesn't match the case account. So like we have validation rules that will get mad. I could probably go and like change that so if it's closed, it doesn't get mad. But that's like one option. Option 2 is we make a new asset and we mark the other one as like no longer alive type of thing, and we make a new one. But then the downside is we don't have a full view of the history of that machine itself. open to thoughts of like which way. It's an
Oh, I have
actual
so
like,
many opinions, but I want to hear everybody else first.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to give you the right answer, but the question you need to ask is every record on any table, any object in any database anywhere should have one purpose in life and one unit of measure. So what is it that you're trying to measure? Is it the piece of equipment and its life cycle, its journey through whatever? Because it sounds like as you're concatenating account names and opportunity names and serial numbers and owners and it's making it harder to track just that piece of equipment's journey through.
yeah, the only reason we put the account name is one of the big reasons. So like when you go to search it in the lookup field on a case, when you're searching asset, you don't have the product name and then the serial number only, because a lot of customers are like, yeah, I don't know my serial. I'm not finding that. You know who I am. You go find it. So like they can search by the account name in the search, like for the asset lookup, and it's just substantially easier. Like that's why it's in there.
Yeah.
But for the sake of immediate convenience, is that now giving you issues further down the road?
I don't think
Because
that
ABC
is.
company bought it, it got sold to DEF, who sold it to XYZ, and XYZ is calling you, wait, you're not ABC because what got hard coded in was ABC.
But we can change the asset name all day. The problem really, like the bigger thing is like if you change the account lookup that's on the asset to say like who's the current owner of the asset, now the old cases don't match, because like on a case we try and make sure that the asset is for the right account. So like they didn't accidentally put the wrong account, wrong asset thing, and like the contact matches, like all three of the triangle kind of matches. So if we change the account on the asset, the closed cases will live fine technically. But if you go to make any update to it, it'll throw a validation rule error, which we could adjust.
And
I'm just trying to think.
and that's what I'm
options.
saying is you're trying to concatenate way too many elements together and not letting the record be singularly just the piece of equipment. And that, that
You
for
have to
some
be able to
length of
report
time
on
it
an
was related to
asset.
this contact, and for another length of time it was related to this contact or this account. Too many things are coming together, and that's what's not allowing it to move freely.
From a service side, do you actually care? And I've got a reason for asking this question. Do you care who the current owner is? And here's the setup. When we bought our house, it came with a leaf guard. What do you call that? The on the outside of the house catches leaves, the rain gutter, right? The rain gutter. And it was a rather expensive thing. When we called, because we had a little gap, we called them and we said who we were, and they said, we don't actually care who you are, because we don't track it based on the customer. We track it based on the residence, the property where it is. So it has a lifetime guarantee. We can call at any time and say, come and fix whatever on this rain gutter. But they don't care about the people that live here, because we could leave this house and go to another house next month.
The only thing they care about with the people is that the service agent calls you Stu and not Jim. But in the end, they're servicing the leaf guard on.
But we care about the account who
true.
has it, because we have to report on we report on what accounts have our machines. Like from a marketing point of view, they want to look at who has what machine, because like that, who are we going to go send emails to? Like there's a lot of stuff tied to of like who has it. Like there's no way to not have on the asset who has it. There's so much tied around it, and for valid reasons of like, that's how we base if it's a customer or not. Do they have any assets? The second they have assets, the roll up shows they have an asset. They switch to be a customer.
But I think, Stu, what you're saying is going along with what you're saying, Andrew, if I owned that asset and I sell it to Stu, who cares? Why does it matter if the cases that were assigned to me are now showing up on Stu? They're tied to the asset. Yeah. When I owned it, the case was resolved, but it's still the asset that's the unique piece. I think you're trying to make, or I shouldn't say it that way. It sounds to me that you need to separate the asset as an identity from all of the related records.
Yeah. I think you care more about the machine. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you what you care about.
Yeah.
But I would care more about the machine and what the history of that machine is, and not necessarily who has it right now. Yes, that's important to know, but as maybe a child relationship or a related relationship, not the most immediate concern.
But I think Andrew's right that you don't want to lose the fact that when that case happened for that machine 5 years ago, it was old customer who was unhappy. And now, you know, you don't want to lose the history that that case meant you were dealing with complaints by some other company.
Yeah,
to
or
that
like if
point,
there was
case
a failure for
comes with
hardware.
case comes with lookups to both account and contact. So why can't you go through who opened the case be any kind of indicator, or why can't it be an indicator of who owned the equipment at that time? If the
Well,
case is
it
attached
can
to
be.
the asset.
It can be. Like it does.
I think that the thing is there's a data point that is missing from the current model. What we just assume ownership because there's a direct relationship, this one-to-one between the asset and the account, but that's not the case. We built this whole thing off of the idea that I can take the asset and I can need service, but then sell it to somebody else and still need service. And so there's actually a one-to-many relationship between the asset and who owns the asset, in the same way that like you'd have an affiliation in NPSP, right? So within this time-bound set of time, this asset was connected to this account, and here are the cases that are germane to that scope of time. Similarly, you could look at it a different way and say, well, this asset has had all these cases across these 5 different owners, and yeah, this thing's really a dud. Right. And I think that the model that you laid out isn't compatible with the use case that you're trying to have. And the fingernails on chalk thing is going on when you say things like editing the account to reflect the new owner, because I'm like, would you ever edit a user record to reflect a new user? Because to me, it's like we're the same territory. And so I think the data model that
We don't edit the account, we just change the lookup on the asset. We just change the account lookup in the asset. We don't change the account to be like the new owner.
Sure, but when you do that, then think about all the other ramifications and implications of this. Like if you, and maybe these are not concerns, but if you had a public portal, are you totally confident that all of the related case history that would then move, that should be shared? It should be accessible?
Well, the case still is tied to the case is still tied to the other account, like an individual case. Just the asset is what's changed. The case has a lookup to asset, but I don't think there's any record sharing that's tied asset to case.
What are your validation rules validating? Because I think that's part of the problem.
When they go to put the stuff in when they're working a case, that like they have if they put the account matches the asset, or the account matches the asset is from the same account as the case, and the primary contact in the case is the same account as the account. So like because before what would happen is we have customers that literally have identical names. Like the only difference is they're in a different state. So they would be selecting sometimes the wrong account because like easy to mess it up. Hi, Michael.
Hey, so question. Those validation rules, they make sense to me. Wouldn't they only apply to a new case? Like you're not going to go editing those old closed cases, or if they're closed, you could exempt them from the validation rule?
So that's like one of the options. Like I could like adjust the validation rules to allow it. I'm trying to figure out, I guess, like just other people's thoughts on pros and cons just around the whole thing to figure out how do we do it. Cause like we've handled them as one-off things, like maybe 10 over the last, like maybe one a year of just trying to like jam it through and make it whatever felt right. But I'm trying to figure out how to put a process so it's like clean.
I mean, the way you described it, and I was clarifying, like I like those validation rules. They make sense. You just have to not apply them to the prior cases, which presumably you can tell they're prior. I would assume they're closed, or maybe there's one that crosses the boundary of change of ownership, but that one actually probably does need to either transfer or be old one closed, a new one open for the new owner. But that seems to make sense to me.
Yeah.
I guess I want to go back to what you said a few seconds ago. Your net, I don't think you're ever sustainably going to get 100% of your situations covered. If one pops up, it gets parked. It probably should be parked to the side. And again, I don't know how many case types you have, and how many record types. I don't know any of those numbers, but if you're trying to chase 100% of your situations to have a clean process, you're either going to go insane or have a massive amount of technical debt for something that, to your point, maybe only happens once a year. So from a system sustainability standpoint, it's what's your 80-20 or what's even your 90-10? Account for those and then have a side conversation about, okay, this one doesn't fit any of this. How could it fit? Or do we need to go back upstream on the process to evaluate what we're actually evaluating for? Because any new data can be a driver of upstream. When I say upstream, I mean back end evaluation. Like there may be some tweaks that need to be made a little bit deeper under the hood. You're never going to get 100% accounted for.
Emma, you've had your hand up quite a while, and I kind of want to jump in here too. Why don't you go first?
It was more of a question just for Andrew about, you said you'd asked this question elsewhere earlier, and I wondered if you'd had any other feedback that was different.
The people who answered on the community before, there's a lot, people get like solid responses, and a lot of it leaned towards keep the existing asset and just update the account so you retain all the case history. That was kind of what the responses were on the question. I can go find the question and throw it in the chat, the link to it.
If I could ask really quick, I think it would be really valuable to copy it to Success so we can all see it. So, and maybe this is where you were headed with this, Dale, is I feel like if you pull back from what you're trying to solve and talk more about the process, I think the question you end up asking yourself is basically what we've all been asking you, which is, do you care about the history of the asset or do you care about the history of the owner? And if you know that answer, and it probably can't be both, but maybe it could, then you might have some changes. So like in my mind, I'm thinking
the asset, like the cases, and that is what's more valuable than the history of the owner.
Perfect. So then I feel like there's something to be said about like you were saying like, but I want to know that the client that owned this had this case for an asset they don't own anymore. So I'm hearing two messages from you, but neither here nor there. What I guess what I'm getting at is like, if you pull way back, you could do something like, well, maybe it makes sense to replicate the asset so that you have the asset previously owned by information and the cases tied there. And then you have like a circular lookup or something to say, and I sold it and previous, like you can create a chain of the same asset. That gets ugly, but it does one thing. Or you have to pivot the other way and say, I need to make sure that when I'm tracking my cases, that I can move this asset as defined by the standard architecture, but still retain the history the way I'm envisioning it and like make some changes in that. And then going to Michael's point, then your validation does a couple things. One, it ensures that every old case or every new case meets the requirements of every new case. It also potentially keeps you from editing old cases because now none of it applies, right? So you kind of get like this backdoor safety valve of being able to say like I can't modify an old case because the current owner isn't the information I have on this case right now. So now you're blocked and you can ensure that history. So like, I feel like there's a lot of like big step back, don't think platform, think process.
Yeah, because in the end, technology and especially Salesforce, I hate to say it, and I'm probably going to get badgered for this, that you can't have everything. For anything that you want to slide over here, you got to give up something over there. It doesn't just magically get everything in one place because we think it needs to be or we want it to be. It's a give and take. So you got to figure out what and where that balance is.
Just because we're running out of time, Alejandro, you had a question. Did you get the answer you needed from Mike, or do you want to ask more about that?
Oh, thank you guys. Now I'm just going to to read this potential solution. Hi everyone. Hi Mike. Hi Joe. And yeah, this is something that I came up with this week that I need. This is, I mean, this is like a strange for me. I have never heard about this solution because I think it's easy just to go to the drop down and select the emails, but the business one, something automatically. So yeah, I was wondering if a flow can help me in this, but I'll read this and yeah, I'll try. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, I wanted to make sure we got to him before we close the door on Andrew, and if there's any other questions that we missed.
Dun, 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 dun. 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
If Joy is going to dance for the next 4 minutes, I would suggest none of us come up with questions and we just go on to her dance.
We just
So-
all hum for the next 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Or I could say nice things about Joy. If you haven't seen already, Joy's been on several podcasts. She was just on the
DevOps Streaming with Jack McCurdy.
the Dreamy Jeff podcast.
It's Jack. It's Jack.
Oh, Jack. I thought you said Jeff. Dreamy Jack podcast.
Jack's great.
So look or listen for Joy on your podcast player.
Do you know what else I did today? We recorded the next episode of the Jam, and so we're going to release that soon. Thanks, Mike, for doing that. So that was exciting. And then I don't know what else is going on. I don't know. There's a new game I heard. It's Where in the World is Joy? And today I'm at home. But apparently that's a new game that's happening. I don't even know where to start. Emma, your question was, all right, so you're going to listen Dreamy Stew. Oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. When the Jam, the next topic is, what did we say? Hold on, where is it? There it is. Building trust as a solo admin. We're going to keep the guest a secret for a minute, but building trust as a solo admin. It's a great topic. And I don't know. It's good
When's
stuff.
it out? So I've got car ride next Friday. That's why
Maybe by next Friday. I think I'm not going to make any promises. I'm not doing the heavy lifting there.
Oh,
I'll
sorry.
do
Do
it
I need to
before
look at
then.
Mike?
No, I'll do it before then.
If I can self-promote a little bit as well. Last time's MVP office hours was really well attended and some really new great voices talking about some really great topics. If you didn't get a chance to attend, I was blown away by everyone that showed up and how they showed up 2 weeks ago. Not that we're not always awesome, but it was a lot of new faces and a lot of great input. So if you missed it, check it out.
Mike, what's our Bitly? Because I don't even know.
The Jam Pod.
The Jam Pod. There it is. Hold on. I got it. It's been a day. Happy Friday, everybody.
Joy, you're
And-
gonna need a website just for you for your recordings and your presentations and your travel, and it's just Where in the World is Joy? And let's get started on that. Mike's got nothing going on. He'll spin that up for you.
Yeah. Or, you can just use the hashtag I put on my luggage that says Find Joy. Like that's the, you can ask Jody Herbeck about that. I left a note for her at a registration desk one time. It just said Find Joy. And she's like, that was interesting. Find Joy. All right. You guys find me. We'll talk to y'all later. Happy Friday. The dog has been handled. Taco is for a walk right now. So if you've never had walking tacos, you're not really from the Midwest, but
We appreciate all of you.
I know. Thanks for coming, everybody. Alejandro, it's good to see you again. It's been a minute, like since TDX and then before that. Emma, thanks for joining us on a Friday night.